Beneath the surface of our world lies another one, silent, dark, and waiting. A realm carved by forgotten hands, where entire civilizations once lived unseen. Cities so vast they could shelter thousands, yet so secret that most were never meant to be found. For centuries, explorers have stumbled upon these hidden labyrinths, from the spiraling depths of Derinkuyu in Turkey to the miles of catacombs beneath Rome. Beneath Beijing, rumors tell of ancient tunnels once connecting emperors to their fortresses. In Egypt, whispers speak of chambers stretching beyond the pyramids, sealed by time and fear. But what if these weren't isolated anomalies? What if humanity's real history, the one not written in books or carved on monuments, lies buried below us? Every tunnel, every chamber, every silent hall could be a fragment of a story erased from the surface world. A story of survival, of fear, of something the ancients knew, and we have forgotten. As we descend through layers of stone and shadow, one truth begins to echo louder than the rest. The deeper we dig, the less we understand who we really are. For as long as humanity has walked the earth, we've been builders. We raised monuments that kissed the sky, carved temples into cliffs, and erected cities that sprawled across continents. Yet, quietly, mysteriously, our ancestors also built downward. Deep into the ground. Into silence. Into darkness. Across every civilization, from Asia to Europe, from Africa to the Americas, the earth hides the same pattern: tunnels, chambers, and entire worlds hollowed out beneath our feet. Some were carved by known cultures. Others appear without origin, without purpose, and without explanation. Archaeologists call them subterranean complexes. Ancient texts call them underworlds. But the truth may lie somewhere in between, in a forgotten chapter of human history that hints at something far greater and far older than we've been taught to believe. Imagine descending into stone corridors that twist endlessly beneath the Anatolian plains. You breathe in the stale air of a world untouched for millennia. Dust drifts from ceilings built by hands that never saw sunlight. Entire rooms, kitchens, wells, and sanctuaries carved with precision so advanced it defies the era it came from. Who were these people? Why did they flee the surface? Some say they hid from war. Others believe they escaped climate collapse or cataclysm. And there are those, scholars and skeptics alike, who whisper that these places might predate recorded civilization entirely. What we're about to uncover isn't just archaeology, it's memory. The earth remembers what we've forgotten. Every tunnel leads deeper, not only into rock but into time. From Turkey's Derinkuyu to Rome's catacombs, from Egypt's sunken labyrinth to the hidden passages of Asia, the story we're about to explore is one that reshapes how we understand human endurance. Because beneath every empire that rose and fell, another world endured, silent, concealed, waiting. And perhaps that's the greatest secret of all, that humanity's survival was never guaranteed by the power of what we built above the ground, but by what we preserved beneath it. So as we begin this journey into the hidden veins of history, ask yourself, how many layers of the past lie below your own city? How many footsteps have echoed in the dark beneath your own? This isn't a story about what was lost. It's about what refused to die, and what still waits, deep below, to be rediscovered. 1. Origins of the underground civilization. It begins beneath the mountains of central Turkey, in the ancient region of Cappadocia, a place where the earth itself looks carved by gods. Volcanic peaks rise like frozen waves, and strange stone towers stand like sentinels of time. For centuries, travelers stared at these formations in awe, never realizing that the real wonder lay not above, but below. In 1963, a man renovating his home in the small town of Derinkuyu made a discovery that would rewrite archaeology. Behind a wall of his basement, he found a hidden passage. It led not to a simple cellar, but to a descending tunnel. The air grew cold. His torchlight flickered against black volcanic rock, and as he stepped further, he realized the tunnel kept going deeper and deeper, twisting through narrow stone corridors. What he had stumbled upon was no ordinary cave. It was the entrance to a lost world, a city buried in the earth. Derinkuyu stretches over 280 feet deep, with at least 18 known levels carved entirely by hand. Ventilation shafts run through the structure like arteries. Wells, kitchens, stables, even schools and wine cellars, all hidden underground. Archaeologists estimate it could shelter up to 20,000 people, with food, water, and air circulation sophisticated enough to sustain them for months. But who built it, and when? The earliest theories credited early Christians, who supposedly fled Roman persecution. It made sense, they needed refuge. Yet, the deeper researchers looked, the stranger it became. The tunnels showed signs of being far older, carved with tools and techniques that predated the Christian era by thousands of years. Some estimates trace its origins to around 8000 BCE, long before recorded civilization in the region. If true, that would mean Derinkuyu existed before writing, before the wheel, before cities above ground. So the question grew larger. Why would a Stone Age people need a city underground? Some archaeologists suggest survival. Cappadocia's soft volcanic rock made it easy to carve and perfect for insulation. The people could have sought protection from invaders, animals, or harsh weather. But others suspect something far greater, a response to disaster. The region's myths whisper of a great burning sky, of storms that lasted years, of fire from above that forced people to seek the belly of the earth. To some, these tales echo a memory of ancient cataclysm, perhaps a meteor impact, or the environmental chaos following the last ice age around 10,000 BCE. Was Derinkuyu built as a refuge from the end of the world? Inside its tunnels, you can still feel the purpose in every curve and corner. Narrow passages open suddenly into vast halls. Air shafts ensure oxygen circulates flawlessly, even 18 stories down. Some shafts reach over 50 meters, aligned with mathematical precision. Whoever built this place understood engineering far beyond their time. It doesn't feel like improvisation. It feels like inheritance, as if the builders were following blueprints older than themselves. As explorers ventured deeper, they discovered rolling stone doors, massive circular slabs designed to seal entire corridors from the inside. Each could be moved by one person but impossible to open from outside. It was a city prepared for siege or for something it feared would come from above. Some scholars connect Derinkuyu with ancient flood myths, the kind shared across nearly every civilization. Stories of survivors retreating into mountains or underground shelters to escape divine punishment or natural catastrophe. In that sense, Derinkuyu might be the echo of a prehistoric world trying to outlast a cataclysm, a civilization that hid below the surface while the earth above reset itself. But if that's true, where did these people go? When the world calmed, why didn't they return to rebuild on the surface? Perhaps they did, and their descendants forgot why their ancestors lived underground in the first place. Maybe the memory turned into myth, tales of gods below, of underworlds and hidden realms, passed down as religious symbols instead of history. Derinkuyu may not stand alone. Similar tunnels spread across the region, in Kemakli, Matsi, and Oskanak, all interconnected by secret passageways stretching for miles. Together, they form a network so vast it could shelter tens of thousands. A civilization beneath a civilization. Modern scientists have mapped only a fraction of it. Many corridors remain sealed, filled with rock and dust. What lies beyond, we simply don't know. One archaeologist described walking through Derinkuyu as feeling history breathe. You sense the echo of generations who lived, cooked, prayed, and died in darkness, protected by the earth yet consumed by it. The deeper you go, the more it feels less like visiting ruins and more like trespassing into something sacred. And as you emerge back into sunlight, blinking against the blinding glare, one question refuses to leave your mind. If a civilization could build a city so vast underground, long before modern technology, then what else might they have built and hidden that we have yet to find? 2. The Catacombs of Rome. Faith beneath the empire. Beneath the marble streets of ancient Rome, beneath the noise of markets, the clash of swords, and the roar of the Colosseum, there lies another city. A silent one, a world carved into the volcanic earth, winding endlessly beneath the empire's grandeur. These are the Catacombs of Rome, the hidden veins of a civilization that ruled the world above and buried its secrets below. The story begins in the first centuries after Christ, when the Roman Empire stretched from the deserts of Africa to the icy frontiers of Britain. Rome was the heart of that empire, a city of gods, temples, and power. But beneath that brilliance thrived something forbidden. In the shadows of Rome's triumphs, a small, persecuted faith was taking root, Christianity. For its early followers, worshipping the one true God meant defying the emperor himself. The penalty, torture, exile, or death. So they did what many before them had done when threatened: they went underground. Literally. At first, the catacombs were burial grounds, long tunnels dug into the soft tufa rock outside the city walls. Here, the dead were laid to rest in small niches carved into the walls, sealed with stone slabs marked by symbols: a fish, a dove, a simple cross. But soon, these tunnels became more than cemeteries. They became sanctuaries. By torchlight, believers gathered here in secret, whispering prayers that could cost them their lives if overheard. The flicker of flame danced across frescoes of biblical scenes: Daniel in the lion's den, Jonah and the whale, each painting a silent testimony of faith in a world that wanted it silenced. Above, Rome celebrated its gods with festivals and blood. Below, in the catacombs, men and women found a different kind of salvation, one built not on power, but on endurance. To enter was to descend into a different Rome, a Rome of humility, grief, and hope. Yet as archaeologists explored these tunnels centuries later, they discovered something strange. Some of the catacombs predated Christianity entirely. Beneath the Christian layers lay older passageways, tunnels carved long before the time of the apostles. Who built those? Some scholars suggest early pagan sects used them for burial or mystery rituals. Others suspect they were part of an even older network, perhaps remnants of Etruscan or pre-Roman subterranean systems repurposed by early Christians. In other words, Rome's underworld wasn't created by one faith. It evolved layer by layer across millennia, each new era inheriting the darkness of the last. Imagine walking those corridors today, narrow, endless, twisting like the lines of a forgotten map. The walls breathe with moisture. The air is cool and heavy. You pass alcoves stacked with bones, the remains of those who once defied an empire. You feel their silence, their courage, their fear. It's not the architecture that stays with you, it's the presence. The knowledge that these tunnels were built by hands trembling with devotion, by people who chose faith over safety. When they prayed, their voices would echo against the stone, traveling through the labyrinth like a chorus of ghosts. And yet, in this quiet defiance, something remarkable happened. The underground faith became unstoppable. The catacombs, intended as hidden sanctuaries, became the foundations of a global religion. When the empire finally embraced Christianity in the 4th century, the catacombs were sealed and forgotten, relics of a darker time. But beneath the surface they remain preserved, a parallel Rome that never fell to ruin, untouched by conquest or fire. Modern excavations reveal over 60 catacomb systems, stretching for hundreds of miles beneath the city. Some still contain paintings so vivid you can almost see the brushstrokes of those who risked everything to make them. But there's another mystery. Some tunnels lead deeper, branching into sections with no records, no markings, no known purpose. They seem older, rougher, less deliberate, as if Rome itself was built atop a pre-existing labyrinth. In 2016, archaeologists found an entire network of previously unknown chambers beneath the Catacomb of Domitilla, tunnels descending further than expected, possibly linked to ancient Roman aqueducts or earlier burial traditions. But some of the rock formations suggested these lower levels weren't Roman at all. They belonged to something far older. Could Rome, like Derinkuyu, be sitting atop an inherited world? If so, it raises a haunting possibility, that the Romans didn't just conquer lands, they unknowingly built their empire over the bones of another. There's a poetic symmetry in that. The empire that sought to rule the heavens also sat upon an empire of the dead. And perhaps that's the unspoken pattern of human civilization, each generation layering its triumphs above forgotten worlds, as if the earth itself were a library of human ambition and fear. The catacombs are not just Rome's buried past, they're a mirror. They remind us that no matter how powerful we become, we always return to the ground, to dust, to silence, and sometimes, to survive, we must first learn to live beneath it. 3. The Labyrinth of the Pharaohs. In the dry heart of Egypt, where the desert wind carries whispers of gods and kings, there lies a mystery even older than the pyramids, a place so vast, so complex, that ancient writers described it as the greatest wonder ever built by man. They called it the Labyrinth of Hawara. But over time, it vanished, swallowed by the sand, erased from maps, and forgotten by history. Our story begins around 450 BCE, when the Greek historian Herodotus journeyed through Egypt. He visited a colossal structure near the city of Crocodilopolis, and what he saw left him speechless. He wrote that the labyrinth contained 3,000 rooms, both above and below ground, all connected by twisting passages so intricate that no man could find his way without a guide. He compared it to the Great Pyramids, and then said it surpassed them. That statement alone should have secured the labyrinth eternal fame. Yet centuries later, it all but disappeared. Archaeologists have long debated whether Herodotus exaggerated, or if he truly saw something extraordinary. The clues point toward Amenemhat III, the pharaoh of the 12th dynasty, who ruled around 1800 BC. His pyramid at Hawara still stands, battered by time, but nearby, ancient maps and scattered ruins hint at something much larger once surrounding it. In the 19th century, explorers like Flinders Petrie dug through the desert sands, uncovering vast foundations, enormous slabs of limestone and granite arranged with geometric precision. But where Herodotus spoke of rooms and corridors, Petrie found only fragments, as though the labyrinth had been deliberately destroyed. What happened to it? Some say the labyrinth wasn't destroyed at all, it was buried. Herodotus mentioned that the structure extended underground. Modern scanning technologies, from satellite imagery to ground-penetrating radar, have since detected anomalies beneath Hawara, rectangular voids, alignments, and patterns that match Herodotus's descriptions almost perfectly. It seems something enormous still sleeps beneath the sand. But what was its purpose? The official explanation is bureaucratic: a mortuary temple for Amenemhat III, housing administrative offices and ceremonial chambers. Yet that answer doesn't fit the scale. Why build such a colossal complex simply for record-keeping? Why dig downward toward secrecy, rather than upward toward the gods? Some researchers believe the labyrinth had a deeper function, not as a tomb but as a vault, a repository of knowledge. Ancient Egyptian priests were known to guard sacred texts, star charts, maps of the underworld, and writings they called the wisdom of Thoth. Some legends say these teachings were hidden after a great flood to preserve humanity's knowledge for future ages. If such archives existed, the labyrinth would have been the perfect place to hide them, away from conquest, from time, and from the shifting desert above. Imagine walking its halls, torchlight flickering against hieroglyphs, endless corridors echoing with footsteps. Above, the desert sun blazes mercilessly. Below, in cool stone silence, generations of priests guard a secret meant never to be lost. If Herodotus truly stood there, he might have glimpsed more than architecture. He might have seen the memory of an older world preserved in stone. But even Herodotus wasn't the only one to write about it. Strabo, Pliny the Elder, and Diodorus Siculus all described the same labyrinth, each amazed by its immensity and design. They spoke of hidden tombs, subterranean rivers, and chambers decorated with the histories of Egypt's ancient dynasties, a record of everything that had ever been built. And yet, when archaeologists returned, almost nothing remained. Only the foundations, as if the entire structure had been dismantled, erased intentionally. It's here the story turns darker. Some Egyptologists suggest the labyrinth might have been flooded deliberately, sealed by the rising water table of the nearby Bahr Yusuf Canal. Others believe it was buried to protect what lay within from looters and foreign invaders. But another theory persists, whispered among fringe historians, that the labyrinth was hidden to conceal knowledge too powerful for later ages, scientific, astronomical, or spiritual truths that could rewrite humanity's understanding of the ancient world. Whatever the reason, the evidence refuses to disappear. In 2008, the Mataha expedition, led by Belgian researcher Louis de Cordier, used advanced radar mapping at Hawara. The scans revealed what appeared to be massive rectangular structures, grids beneath the desert surface stretching hundreds of meters in every direction. When published, the data seemed to confirm what Herodotus described millennia ago. Then, abruptly, the Egyptian authorities restricted access. The findings were never fully released to the public. Even today, most of what lies beneath Hawara remains sealed, entombed under layers of sand and political silence. It's poetic, in a way. Egypt's oldest secrets have always hidden in plain sight, beneath the very symbols we thought we understood. To walk the desert there now is to stand over a sleeping city. You can feel the faint tremor of something immense below, a structure that once rivaled the pyramids, now reduced to myth. But if that myth is real, if the labyrinth of the Pharaohs still exists beneath the earth, then it may hold more than the relics of a kingdom. It may hold the blueprint of humanity's obsession with eternity. From Derinkuyu to Rome, from the mountains of Anatolia to the sands of Hawara, a pattern is forming. Civilizations vanish. Empires fall. Yet again and again, humanity returns to the same instinct, to carve our safety, our faith, our knowledge into the bones of the earth. Perhaps we never stopped building down because, somewhere deep within us, we remember what it means to lose everything above. And just like that, the sands of Egypt lead us further east, to another mystery, half legend, half truth, where the underground becomes not just refuge, but empire. 4. The Asian Subterranean Networks. Across Asia, legends of underground worlds have never truly faded. From the temples of India to the imperial fortresses of China, whispers of hidden tunnels persist, stories of secret passages that connect palaces, cities, and even mountains. For centuries, they were dismissed as myth, the imaginative exaggerations of folklore. But recent discoveries suggest something far more astonishing. These stories might be rooted in truth. Our journey begins in China, where beneath the ancient city of Xi'an, once the capital of 13 dynasties, archaeologists have uncovered vast subsurface corridors. Xi'an is best known for its terracotta army, the eternal guards of the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. Yet beneath those same plains, radar and seismic studies have revealed hollow spaces, large enough to hold entire halls, stretching outward in every direction from the emperor's mausoleum. Chinese legends speak of an underground palace complex, complete with rivers of mercury, models of celestial constellations, and chambers meant to mirror heaven and earth. The emperor's tomb itself remains sealed, untouched for over 2,000 years, out of respect and fear. Ancient records warn that tampering could release mechanical traps and deadly toxins. But what if this isn't mere superstition? Modern scientists have confirmed that the soil around the mausoleum contains unusually high levels of mercury, exactly as the texts described. It's as though the ancient Chinese engineers created a microcosm of the world below the ground, a world meant to last forever, untouchable by time. Yet Xi'an is only one part of a greater pattern. Throughout China's dynastic history, secret tunnels connected royal palaces to temples, military barracks, and even remote mountains. The Ming emperors built escape routes beneath Beijing's Forbidden City, some leading to hidden safehouses miles away. Beneath the old capital of Nanjing, archaeologists found sealed passageways large enough for horse-drawn carriages, built centuries before modern tunneling tools existed. These weren't random acts of paranoia. They were architectural traditions, echoes of something older, something ingrained in human instinct. When danger comes from above, salvation lies below. Now, shift the map southwest, to India. Here, the earth tells a similar story. Beneath the Ellora caves in Maharashtra lies a wonder that seems almost impossible. Carved entirely from a single mountain of basalt, the Kailasa temple descends into the rock like a negative image of heaven, an entire temple complex hewn downward, not built upward. Archaeologists estimate that over 200,000 tons of rock were removed by hand. No scaffolding, no cranes, no records of its construction. Even today, no one fully understands how it was done. But beyond Ellora, India's ancient texts, especially the Mahabharata and the Puranas, speak of cities of the Nagas, serpent-like beings who lived beneath the surface in illuminated palaces of gold and crystal. For centuries, these were treated as mythology, symbolic tales of spiritual realms. Yet across India, Nepal, and Tibet, vast cave systems have been found aligning eerily with these mythic geographies. One of the most mysterious is the Shivkari cave in Kashmir, said to connect through miles of rock to other temple sites, though no one has ever mapped its full extent. Explorers report underground rivers, perfectly smooth walls, and air currents that seem artificially regulated, all deep within natural rock. It raises a haunting question. How much of ancient myth might have been memory, distorted across generations, yet grounded in real subterranean worlds? Move east again, across the sea, to Japan. Hidden beneath the volcanic soil of Aomori and Shiga, archaeologists have found enigmatic stone structures, tunnels and chambers carved with unusual precision. Some locals call them chikahori, or the dwellings below. Their age? Unknown. Their purpose? Forgotten. Japanese legends tell of the Takamagara, the high plane of heaven, and its opposite, Nanokuni, the land of roots, where gods descended into the underworld. Could these mythic realms reflect the same duality seen in Egypt, Rome, and Turkey, heaven above, sanctuary below? In recent years, satellite mapping has shown that underground complexes across Asia Minor, Iran, and Central Asia align suspiciously well along ancient trade routes, the Silk Road among them. Some stretches reveal long tunnels dug into desert rock, wide enough for caravans. These weren't random shelters. They were arteries of civilization, connecting kingdoms and cultures beneath the most hostile terrains on Earth. In Iran, entire subterranean cities, like the Qanat systems of Yazd, carried not just water, but people. These engineering marvels, stretching for hundreds of kilometers, allowed survival through millennia of droughts and invasions. Some of these tunnels intersect deeper, older chambers, whose construction methods differ entirely. Who built those? It's as though the civilizations of Asia inherited an ancient blueprint, one that transcended language and empire. Each generation expanded, sealed, or repurposed what came before, never fully understanding its origin. Even today, explorers and researchers face sealed doors, blocked corridors, and half-mapped tunnels stretching into darkness. Governments classify many of these sites for security reasons. The public sees fragments, never the full network. And maybe that's the greatest mystery. These systems seem to suggest coordination, a shared ancient knowledge spanning thousands of miles. How could people separated by mountains, deserts, and time all design underground structures with such similar architecture, ventilation systems, and purpose? Coincidence or continuity? Perhaps there once was a time when humans, scattered by catastrophe, shared not only myths of survival but the technology to endure it. Perhaps the underground cities of Asia weren't separate inventions at all, but echoes of one civilization's survival plan, a plan passed down through oral memory, myth, and stone. As we look at this vast web, from the deserts of Iran to the temples of India, from the sealed tombs of China to the volcanic passages of Japan, one pattern grows undeniable. Wherever human civilization rose, an older one waited below. And as we travel west again, toward Europe, that pattern doesn't fade, it deepens. For under Europe's castles, streets, and cathedrals lie chambers of fear, faith, and survival, worlds built in shadow to endure the collapse of light above. 5. Europe's hidden underground realms. Beneath the grand cathedrals, cobblestone streets, and ancient castles of Europe lies another continent, one built in darkness. A continent of silence, fear, and survival. Everywhere you look, from Scotland to Poland to the heart of France, the pattern repeats. When the surface became dangerous, humanity turned inward, not metaphorically, but literally. We dug, carved, and hid beneath our own civilizations. But what if those networks weren't just wartime refuges or medieval bunkers? What if they were echoes, continuations of something older, inherited from the same forgotten instinct that created Derinkuyu and the Labyrinth of Hawara? Let's begin in Scotland, beneath the city of Edinburgh. Today, tourists wander through its narrow alleys, unaware that just a few meters below lies Mary King's Close, a sealed underground world perfectly preserved in time. When plague swept through the city in the 1600s, entire streets were quarantined. Families were walled inside their homes to die, their doors sealed with brick and stone. Above ground, new layers of buildings were constructed right over the old ones, burying the past, literally. When archaeologists reopened the tunnels centuries later, they found furniture, belongings, even skeletons, a city frozen mid-breath. Walking through those chambers today feels like walking into a memory trapped in stone. But Edinburgh is only the surface of a much deeper network. Throughout Scotland and England, hidden tunnels stretch between churches, castles, and even entire towns. Some were used by smugglers, others by monks, but many, many, have no clear purpose. They twist for miles, often too deep to be medieval, sometimes leading to chambers that predate the buildings above them. It's as though every generation built its world upon the ruins of another, layering stone upon stone, city upon city, forgetting what lay beneath. Now travel east, to Poland, where the earth hides an entirely different kind of underworld. Beneath the small town of Wieliczka, near Krakow, stretches a labyrinth of tunnels so vast and elaborate that it feels like stepping into another civilization. The Wieliczka salt mine began as a simple excavation in the 13th century, but it grew into an underground city, complete with chapels, sculptures, lakes, and cathedrals all carved from salt. Miners who descended each day into darkness began carving art, turning their workplace into a world of faith and wonder. One of the chambers, the Chapel of Saint Kinga, glows with crystalline walls and chandeliers made of pure salt, a cathedral built in the depths of the earth. It's breathtaking, but it's also symbolic. Even here, underground, humanity built not just to survive, but to believe. Yet, beneath the beauty lies something older. Some tunnels in the mine lead nowhere, abruptly ending in collapsed passages whose age exceeds the documented construction by centuries. It's as though the miners stumbled into an older labyrinth and simply continued from where someone else stopped. From Poland to France, from Germany to the Balkans, Europe's underground map resembles veins of a hidden organism, interconnected, ancient, alive. Beneath Paris, the catacombs stretch for over 200 miles, filled with the bones of 6 million souls. The walls breathe with history, not just of death, but of revolution and refuge. During wars, these catacombs sheltered resistance fighters. During plagues, they stored the dead to protect the living. Yet, among the neatly stacked skulls and femurs, explorers have found sealed doors, hidden chambers, and tunnels that deviate from official map. Whole sections of Paris remain unexplored, intentionally. And then, there's Cappadocia, in modern Turkey, bridging Europe and Asia, where the underground cities of Derinkuyu and Çanakkale intertwine. Their tunnels connect through ancient routes that might once have reached as far as the Black Sea. Recent LiDAR scans show faint lines beneath the terrain, suggesting buried corridors leading toward Europe's edge. If those findings are true, they imply something extraordinary, that Europe's and Asia's subterranean systems may once have been linked. Even in Switzerland, known for its mountains rather than its mysteries, archaeologists have uncovered ghost bunkers, vast underground structures with no recorded builders, later repurposed during modern wars. Their foundations, however, date back centuries, built with techniques that modern historians struggle to place. It's a haunting continuity. Europe, so often divided by religion and politics above ground, is connected beneath by an invisible network, tunnels of survival that whisper of a shared, ancient fear: the world above will one day fall. And when it does, humanity must already be waiting below. But these are not only stories of refuge. They are stories of memory. Each tunnel tells us that civilization is not as permanent as we think. Empires rise, kings fall, languages vanish, yet the earth keeps their secrets, sealed under layers of soil and stone. What's most unsettling isn't how these tunnels were built, it's how consistently they appear across continents and ages. Everywhere, people fled downward. Not randomly, not coincidentally, as if guided by inherited knowledge, a collective memory of catastrophe. It's possible that the builders of Europe's tunnels were not starting from scratch. They might have been rediscovering, reopening, entrances to something that had always been there. Maybe, somewhere deep below, the tunnels of Europe, Asia, and Africa still connect, remnants of a prehistoric global network long forgotten. And yet, the deeper we search, the older the stories become, until myth and memory merge. The next step in our journey takes us from the tangible to the timeless, from archaeology to mythology, where the Earth's hidden chambers are no longer just engineering marvels, but spiritual gateways to the worlds our ancestors believed lay beneath reality itself. A descent, not into history but into legend. 6 Myths, Giants, and the Hollow Earth. Every civilization tells stories of what lies beneath. Beneath the mountains, beneath the sea, beneath the world itself. And strangely, Though these cultures were oceans apart, their stories sound almost identical. The ancient Greeks called it Hades, a shadowed realm where the souls of the dead wandered eternally. To the Norse, it was Svartalfheimr, the world of dwarves and forgers, dwelling in caverns beneath the roots of Yggdrasil. In Mesoamerica, the Maya spoke of Xibalba, the place of fear, an underworld of gods and trials. In India, the Puranas described Patala, a luminous subterranean paradise guarded by the serpent kings, the Nagas. And in Tibet there is Shambhala, a hidden city of enlightened beings, said to reside beneath the Himalayas, awaiting humanity's darkest hour to emerge again. Across continents and millennia, these myths share something eerie. They all describe vast, advanced realms below our feet, not of fire and torment, but of intelligence, knowledge, and hidden power. Could these stories be more than imagination? Some anthropologists argue that underworld myths simply reflect humanity's fear of death, our need to explain what lies beyond the grave. Others suggest they symbolize the subconscious, the hidden mind within us. But a growing number of researchers and explorers propose something far more literal, that these myths may preserve ancient memories of real subterranean worlds, remnants of civilizations forced underground during cataclysms now lost to time. If true, mythology isn't fantasy. It's history written in code. Consider this. Nearly every flood myth, from the Bible's Noah to Mesopotamia's Utnapishtim, includes survivors who retreat to mountains or caves. When the world drowns, they survive below. When the waters recede, they emerge to rebuild. It's the same story told 1,000 ways. The same memory, resurfacing through myth. But it's not just floods. Many ancient traditions speak of beings beneath the earth, giants, gods, or advanced species. The Navajos speak of the people of the inner worlds, who guided them to safety during the great fires that scorched the early world. The Celtic Tuatha Dé Danann, described as radiant beings with immense knowledge, were said to have vanished into the hills after defeat, retreating to a shining world below. And the Hopi tell of the Ant people, who sheltered humanity underground during 2 global cataclysms, feeding and teaching the survivors until it was safe to return to the surface. Each legend mirrors the same truth, that someone or something was already down there waiting. It's easy to dismiss this as fantasy, until we realize how much of Earth remains unexplored. Even today, over 80% of the planet's cave systems remain unmapped. Beneath the Andes, scientists recently discovered caverns large enough to fit skyscrapers. Under Antarctica, thermal scans revealed vast subglacial lakes, possibly interconnected by tunnels, sealed off from the surface for millions of years. And in 2022, a team of Chinese researchers discovered a sinkhole forest, a vertical cave so deep it contained a thriving ecosystem, isolated for millennia. If these environments can exist naturally, why couldn't intelligent species, or ancient humans, have used them for survival during planetary upheaval? The idea of a hollow Earth isn't new. It appears in myth, resurfaces in religion, and re-emerges in science again and again. From Edmund Halley, who proposed in 1692 that Earth might be composed of concentric shells with luminous inner worlds, to 19th-century explorers who claimed polar openings led to vast subterranean oceans, the fascination never faded. Even in modern times, classified military maps have hinted at massive, unexplained voids beneath the Arctic and Antarctic crust, too symmetrical, too extensive to be mere geological anomalies. Of course, science rejects the literal hollow planet. But what if the concept of hollow Earth was never meant to describe an empty sphere, but a network, a global lattice of subterranean worlds, connected through caverns, ancient tunnels, and fault lines, some natural, some carved by hands long forgotten? What if the ancients didn't imagine an underworld? They remembered it. Archaeological evidence supports that humans have used deep cave systems for tens of thousands of years, for shelter, ritual, and preservation. The Chauvet Cave in France contains paintings 35,000 years old, depictions of animals, stars, and human hands reaching into the dark. It's one of the earliest proofs of complex culture, and it began below the earth. The deeper you go into humanity's origins, the clearer the pattern becomes. Civilization was born underground. It's almost poetic that the first sparks of art, language, and faith were lit in darkness, not daylight. And maybe the myths of luminous inner worlds are not fiction, but distant echoes of a time when the underground wasn't a place of death, but of life. Perhaps that's why so many traditions describe the inner earth as radiant, cities of light beneath layers of shadow. The Hopi's ant people were said to live in glowing chambers illuminated by crystals. The Buddhist texts describe Shambhala as shining brighter than the sun, and Hindu scriptures call the Patala realms brilliant as polished gold. It's the same paradox again and again: light within darkness, knowledge within secrecy. Could it be that these civilizations, whether human, divine, or something in between, were the memory of our own ancestors' survival beneath catastrophe? That the gods we now worship were once just people who never returned to the surface? It's an idea as humbling as it is haunting, that the underworld isn't where we go when we die, it's where we went when we almost did. And if the myths preserve even a fraction of truth, if ancient people really did retreat into the earth to escape disaster, then the cities we've uncovered so far might be just the outer edges of a much deeper, interconnected network. But how do we know where myth ends and evidence begins? The answer lies not in legend, but in the tools of modern science. For as technology advances, what once seemed myth is being confirmed, layer by layer, scan by scan. We are now rediscovering the underground worlds our ancestors once called home. And what they reveal challenges everything we thought we knew about our past, and our place in the story of this planet. 7. Rediscovery. Modern science meets mystery. For centuries, the underground world belonged to myth, a place of imagination and fear. But today, the myth is beginning to look like memory. Because now science is catching up. The deeper we peer into the earth, the more we uncover. And what we're finding doesn't fit neatly into the story we were taught. In the past few decades, a quiet revolution has begun, not in the ruins above ground, but beneath them. Technologies once used to map planets are now being turned inward, aimed at the dark layers below our feet. Using LiDAR, a laser-based imaging system that can see through vegetation and soil, researchers have discovered entire hidden cities beneath jungles, deserts, and modern towns. In Mexico, a LiDAR survey of the Yucatan Peninsula revealed hundreds of interconnected cave systems beneath ancient Mayan temples. Some of them stretch for more than 300 kilometers, and align perfectly with surface pyramids, as if the two were designed to mirror each other, a world above and a world below. In Guatemala, another scan exposed a massive network beneath Tikal, one of the greatest Mayan cities. Beneath its temples, they found artificial reservoirs, tunnels, and what appears to be a subterranean ceremonial route. The ancients didn't just build on the surface, they engineered below it intentionally, symbolically. Meanwhile, in Egypt, ground-penetrating radar continues to detect voids beneath the pyramids and plateaus of Giza. In 2017, a French-Japanese team used muon tomography, a technique that tracks cosmic particles, to scan the Great Pyramid. The results stunned the world. A vast, hidden chamber 30 meters long, sealed since the time of the Pharaohs. Was it a burial space? A structural feature? Or something else entirely? The chamber's size and position don't match any known architectural logic. It's as though someone built it for a purpose that remains invisible to us. But Egypt isn't alone. In Peru, near the Nazca lines, explorers found access tunnels leading to a subterranean complex older than the Inca. In Jordan, under Petra's rose-red cliffs, archaeologists uncovered multi-level structures hidden beneath the visible ruins, an entire city beneath a city. And in Europe, new studies of London's and Paris's subterranean maps have revealed forgotten networks dating back to Roman times. Tunnels that have no documented origin. Everywhere we dig, we keep finding more. It's as if humanity has spent millennia trying to forget its own descent, and technology is finally reminding us. But this rediscovery isn't just physical. It's philosophical. As satellites and sensors reveal what lies below, they also expose how connected the ancient world might have been. LiDAR data shows alignments across continents, structures in Turkey, India, and Mesoamerica sharing almost identical underground designs. Spiral shafts, cross-ventilation, hidden water systems. Coincidence? Or evidence of shared knowledge? An ancient global science we no longer understand? Some researchers call it the Paleotechnic era, a period of prehistory when human beings may have achieved feats of engineering lost to modern memory. If so, these underground cities are not anomalies, they are fingerprints of a forgotten age. It's a theory both thrilling and terrifying, because it forces us to reimagine the human timeline. It suggests that history is not a straight line, but a cycle, one in which civilizations rise, fall, hide, and begin again. And the Earth patiently keeps their stories safe. Every time explorers step into a newly discovered tunnel or chamber, they are not just entering rock, they are stepping into continuity, touching the edge of a world that might never have ended. In 2021, Chinese scientists scanning deep karst systems uncovered vast sinkholes so large they contained entire forests, ecosystems thriving in perpetual twilight. The discovery reignited theories that the Earth's crust could conceal entire biospheres, isolated from the surface for millions of years. If life can adapt and thrive down there, could humanity once have done the same? Even more fascinating, the acoustic anomalies. Across several ancient sites, from Derinkuyu to Chavindahuantar in Peru, sound behaves strangely underground. Voices amplify unnaturally. Frequencies resonate at pitches linked to ancient rituals and trance state. Was this coincidence or intentional design? Did our ancestors know how to manipulate the Earth's acoustics to amplify sound, perhaps for ceremony or communication? Modern technology may yet answer those questions. But each new discovery blurs the line between science and myth. The more we uncover, the clearer it becomes. Humanity's greatest secrets were never lost, just buried. We're beginning to see patterns emerge across continents, tunnels that lead to nowhere but match in shape, orientation, and design. Structures sealed long before recorded history began. Even in Antarctica, satellite radar has detected symmetrical formations beneath the ice, geometric ridges and dome-like shapes hundreds of feet below. The official explanation? Glacial anomalies. But if we've learned anything from the past century of exploration, it's this. What we call anomaly is often just history we haven't yet understood. There's a poetic irony in it all. As we launch telescopes into space, searching for alien worlds, we're simultaneously rediscovering another one, right beneath us. And perhaps that's where the real story of humanity has always been. Every generation believes it's the first to uncover the truth. But what if the ancients already knew that safety, survival, and knowledge were found below, not above? Now, as our machines scan deeper, our questions grow louder. What else sleeps beneath the surface? Sealed chambers, forgotten cities, or something that still breathes in the dark? And more importantly, why were they buried in the first place? As modern science lights the tunnels of the past, one truth begins to rise from the shadows. Humanity's journey didn't just ascend from caves to skyscrapers, it's been an endless cycle of descent and rediscovery. Every time we think we've reached the dawn of civilization, we find another sunrise waiting underground. All the fragments, from the tunnels of Cappadocia to the labyrinths of Egypt, the catacombs of Rome, and the buried corridors beneath Asia, begin to align. Different continents, different ages, yet the same pattern. At first, it feels like coincidence, but then something extraordinary becomes clear. These underground worlds share more than purpose, they share design. Across millennia, cultures that never met carved the same forms: vertical shafts for ventilation, spiral staircases, pressure-equalizing corridors, complex airflows that function like living lungs. These weren't random. They were standardized. It's as if the builders followed the same blueprint, one passed not through paper or empire, but through memory. A memory older than history itself. Scientists once believed these structures developed independently, humans everywhere responding to fear, war, and weather in similar ways. But the data now paints a different picture. From Turkey to Peru, from Iran to China, the oldest layers of these sites show engineering techniques too advanced for their supposed time. Carving methods identical down to the millimeter. Tool markings that suggest rotary drills, yet no evidence of metal tools capable of making them. And more unsettling, these cities were not connected by trade routes, but by alignment. When plotted on a global map, many of these subterranean complexes line up along specific latitudes, geophysical bands of stability during the last ice age. It's as if the ancients knew where the Earth was safest when the world above was collapsing. The realization is staggering. What if the underground cities were never separate projects, but pieces of a single human response to catastrophe? Around 12,000 years ago, the Earth underwent a massive climate shift, the end of the Pleistocene. The Younger Dryas event brought global floods, volcanic ash, and temperature drops that wiped out most megafauna and possibly entire cultures. If any advanced societies existed then, they would have been forced underground to survive. And if even a fraction of those people endured, they would have rebuilt, slowly, secretly, each region remembering a fragment of the whole. Over time, their knowledge splintered into myth. The stories of the Ant People, the Nagas, the Tuatha De Danann, the Shambhala Masters. Every civilization preserved an echo of the same event, the same descent, until, eventually, it was forgotten entirely. Maybe that's why these cities feel both alien and familiar. Because we didn't discover them. We rediscovered them. The Earth is not just a graveyard of civilizations, it's their archive. And as the 21st century digs deeper, we're finding the pages of a story too vast to fit in any one culture's history book. Consider this. If a network of subterranean refuges once spanned continents, then what else might it have connected? Were there communication routes, energy systems, or shared knowledge centers? What if Derinkuyu, the Labyrinth of Hawara, and the tunnels of Xi'an were once part of a global infrastructure, a planetary shelter system that allowed humanity to endure a cosmic or environmental cataclysm? The pieces fit almost too neatly. Ventilation designs in Turkey mirror those in ancient Iranian Qanat. Acoustic resonance patterns in Peruvian temples match those in Cappadocia's lower chambers. And the sacred geometry found beneath Giza appears again, thousands of miles away, beneath the ruins of Angkor. Coincidence loses meaning when the pattern repeats at this scale. Perhaps the mythic hollow Earth was never about an empty planet, but a living network, a sanctuary beneath catastrophe. A place where humanity rebooted itself. We like to think of history as progress, a steady climb from ignorance to enlightenment. But what if it's the opposite? What if civilization isn't a straight line, but a circle? A cycle of rise, fall, refuge, and rebirth, each age remembering only fragments of the last? Imagine it. An ancient cataclysm wipes the world clean. Survivors retreat underground. Centuries later, they emerge, telling their children stories of the world before. Those stories become legends. The legends become myths. And the truth sinks beneath the weight of time. We build again, believing we are the first. And so the pattern repeats. Look closely, and you'll see the proof everywhere, not in artifacts but in instinct. Our modern world still digs downward. We build bunkers, subways, data vaults, seed banks buried in ice. Even now, when faced with existential threat, our first reaction is the same as theirs: go below. It's not strategy. It's memory. A deep, ancient code in our DNA. The underground cities of history aren't relics of superstition, they're evidence of that code at work. They're the echo of a species that refused extinction. And maybe that's the real secret. Not that these cities exist, but that they remind us of what humanity becomes when the surface world dies. The ancients built in darkness, but not out of fear. They built to preserve knowledge, life, continuity, because even when the stars disappear behind smoke and storm, human beings find a way to keep the fire alive beneath the earth. And perhaps that's where our story truly began, not in the open fields or the shining cities, but in the deep silence of stone, where our ancestors carved hope into walls no disaster could erase. As the evidence mounts and the connections grow undeniable, one realization stands above the rest. The secret underground cities of history are not mysteries to solve, they are messages. Messages carved in rock, whispering through time. We were here. We survived. And you can too. We began this journey looking down, into the dark, into the unknown. But somewhere along the way we started seeing a reflection, not of what's buried, but of ourselves. The underground cities of history are not just relics of the past. They are mirrors of our instinct to endure. Every tunnel, every carved wall, every sealed chamber is a heartbeat, proof that when the surface world breaks, humanity does not vanish, it adapts. Perhaps that's the lesson the ancients left for us. That survival isn't always about conquering the world above. Sometimes it's about surrendering to the world below. About listening to the earth instead of fighting it. Maybe the story of humanity isn't one of endless ascent, but of rhythm, a pulse that moves up and down, light and dark, life and loss, rediscovery and rebirth. The next time you walk through your city, think about what lies beneath. Beneath the pavement. Beneath the stone. Beneath the centuries of noise and memory. The echoes of footsteps that once walked there long before us, seeking shelter, praying for dawn, carving their world beneath ours. The earth holds our deepest secrets not because it hides them, but because it remembers them. And perhaps, someday, when this world above grows quiet again, when the towers fall and the noise fades, our descendants will walk through the ruins and find what we left behind. And they will whisper the same words we speak now. We were here. We survived. And our story was written in stone.